Right.
This is the first official episode, and this podcast is all about you.
All right.
So I want to give my boy here a chance to introduce himself. Tell him who you are, what you do, and why you wanted to come on the podcast today.
All right. I'm Malcolm Solomon. I'm a lieutenant with Fire Rescue. I'm also a online fitness coach, and I do a dabble in-person training a little bit, but mostly firefighter, EMT, paramedic, and also online coach. Of course, aspiring to do many more things.
Look, he said he did personal training a little bit, but he does that a lot of bit, so don't let him play you. You said you're a lieutenant.
Yeah.
So can you talk to us about how you got to be a lieutenant from start to finish? Was that your dream, passion? Did you always want to do that? Talk to us about that.
Okay, so, man, you know what? I feel like it's all a part of God's plan right now because I never wanted to be fire rescue, never wanted to be police, never wanted to be military. Just because I look at those professions as someone else controlling your life in a large aspect or a majority of way. They tell you when to go and where you can't, and I feel like I want to be in control of my life. So what really got me into the fire service, first of all, was I lost two siblings 10 years apart, so 2018 and
Wow.
2008, right? And both siblings died before 30 of causes which, if I had any kind of medical knowledge, I would have been able to help them just by seeing predispositions. Predispositions meaning, normally your body gives you clues when something's going on internally.
Heard.
And if you're a layperson meaning just a regular guy, regular Joe that has no medical background or any education, you won't really see those cues, right? So you'll think that, for example, that everything's okay, right?
Yeah.
So my brother back in 2018, he showed signs of fingernail clubbing, and that would be your body not having the proper amount of oxygen. But back then, I just thought that, oh shoot, your nails look a little different, bro.
Mm-hmm.
And we joke about it, and everybody was just family didn't even think nothing of it.
How different? What do you mean?
Clubbing?
I never heard of that.
So
yeah.
clubbing would be your nail grows, it looks bigger. For example,
okay.
think you've seen people and it curves over.
Heard.
Right?
Okay, I've seen that.
So that would be clubbing, and that's your body showing that, man, there's just not enough oxygen. It's trying to pull oxygen, right? It's showing, it's displaying that. And so, long story short, if me knowing what I know now back then I would have been able to say, hey, you need to go to the doctor, bro.
Yeah.
And then I would have made him go because he didn't like doctors and stuff like that. But because I know what's going on, he would listen to me and say, hey, bro, you need to go get checked out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So then we wind more to 2018, and so by the way, my brother, he passed away from sarcoidosis. That's what Bernie Mac died from.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Okay.
It's pretty much only African Americans can get this disease. My long-term goal is to start a nonprofit, a sarcoidosis nonprofit. You only learn about this kind of, diagnosis or sickness if someone in your family or close to you has it, because it's just not large enough and there's no backing behind cancer or stuff like that.
It's not that common.
Not common at all, right?
But it is common for African Americans.
For us to have
Black people in general. Okay.
Black people. So my sister died from pulmonary arthritis and many other comorbidities. I was very young back then, so I didn't even know anything was wrong with her. I thought she was fine. And then her predispositions showed back then as well. Mm-hmm. But as a child back in 2008, I was pretty much I was in college, freshman year or something like that. And back then I had no knowledge, very green. And so those two experiences prompted me, to I was like, man, if I only knew this knowledge, and then no one in my family ever studied anything in medicine or medical field. So I was like, I guess, it's me, right? So
if not you, then who?
If not me, then who? And that's literally what I was about to say, bro, because who's gonna make the change, right?
Yeah.
Who's gonna stop this same instance from happening to people, in the future? And so I originally wanted to be a nurse, and I was like, I felt like, they can help a lot, and they see, people in their weakest moments all the time. And when I went to school, when I went to check it out, I went to Miami-Dade, I started doing my research in different nursing nursing offerings and stuff like that, I realized, okay, man, I probably can't just start being a nurse, because just going into nursing is already going to be intense. And at the time, I wasn't able to stop my life to now go back to school.
Yeah.
Right. And then the nursing program wasn't cheap, and then you can't really work during the program because it's so intense.
Yeah.
So I had some firefighter boys that I was into the gym thing, and these guys would come in to the gym at different times, hours, days. And I'm like, man, I thought these guys were like drug dealers, because I'm like, how are you here?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They do say, like, everyone, like, if you're a professional, you come at in the morning. If you're like a drug dealer,
Right.
you come at like 2, 3 in the afternoon.
Right, and that's literally what I thought. And these guys are coming in 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3, and it's not like they're jumping in for 30 minutes for an hour lunch break and going back. No, they're in there hanging out.
Yeah.
This is like they're off today. So they got me kind of like interested in the whole program and everything. And after 2 years, my boy telling me about it. It took 2 years, bro. I was like, I'm gonna do it, but then I was like, nah. I was like, can I have a beard? No.
you're decked out.
I had a beard. And at that time, I never shaved my beard before.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm like, yo, I can't do that, man. I can't do this job.
Why? What was so important about the facial hair?
It was a part of my signature. It was a part of who I am.
Gotcha.
And I feel like as an individual, which they don't want you to be,
Yeah.
right? You have
Okay.
to become one off and not stand off alone, right? No freelancing. That's one of the things they always talk about. But so that's why it took so long, because I had to actually adapt that mindset. I had to say, you know what? I didn't want to make the change I need to make to come up higher.
Yeah.
Right? And so, fast forward 2 years, I decided to try the EMT program. And when I tried the EMT program, I was like wowed by everything I learned. It was just 3 months, full time, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. And I learned so much that I bought in, because I did well. I got an A on EMT. I got my license right away. And I was like, okay, you know what? I could do this, Then I went to, so that's the first part, right? You got an intro to EMT. Second portion of that is going to be fire.
Yeah.
I did fire. You could either go from EMT to paramedic or EMT to firefighting school. And I went to fire after that, and that's when my eyes opened up to the fire service. Because
Gotcha.
the medical side is a lot of what we do, but no one really talks about the training that we have to go through for the fire aspect, which I've always been in shape, so the actual physical aspect of it was never my issue, right? The challenge for me was the mental part, the mental warfare, right? So the firefighting, that's when the paramilitary step, the side of it kind of came in, right? So I wasn't, how can I say this?
You weren't prepared.
I wasn't prepared by any means for a military kind of prep, right? I never did no JRTC, nothing like that, where somebody's like yelling at you, giving you discipline. And so the fire school was definitely my first intro to that, and it was definitely a culture shock.
Yeah, okay.
Right? You're stepping into a whole other world, a whole other field, not knowing what to expect, and you know what? I learned a lot from it. I made a ton of mistakes, nowhere near perfect. When it comes to studying and different things like that, I can always do that, but that whole fire, like military, paramilitary, you need to be lace up your boots, shine them up. Your shirt can only be creased these inches. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Tucked in, belt needs to be lined up. So learning all that, learning the do's and don'ts of the service was definitely a challenge for me.
No, I mean it sounds, from you saying like you were an individual before then, and then you had to basically adjust. What was it? I know you just never had that in your face or had to make those adjustments, but what about it was so challenging for you to look outside of yourself to be like a team player? Because you didn't mention it, I know you a little bit, I know you played sports, but what about that versus like playing on a football team or track team's kind of individual, but football team, that was so different.
So what was so challenging was, I'll say, I just didn't know the inner workings. A lot of these people that come up in the fire service, their parents were in the fire service. They had family members in the fire service. So they grew up going into the fire service and feeling the culture. My culture that I was used to, for example, before this, I worked as a district manager for gas and oil retail, and I was, Southeast Florida was my region from Port St. Lucie to Homestead. and I was pretty much your own boss at that point, working, of course, to build a business for my last company, which is Murphy USA Gas and Oil Retail.
Gotcha.
Right? Fast forward, I'm used to doing that, and I'm already established in my role, and I had to start over, right? So now I'm the lowest, or what they'll say is you're lower than whale in the bottom of the ocean. You know what I'm saying?
Bottom of the totem pole.
You are
at that
treated
point.
like a scrub at that point, right?
Yeah.
And I'm used to, I've already lived my life. I already had, multiple places I lived in, and now you're getting treated like pretty much.
Yeah.
Right?
How old are you when you started?
20, when I started EMT, I was 28.
Got you.
28.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Right.
Like having to start over is not easy, especially at 28.
Actually, no, 30. Sorry, I had my son at 28. I started EMT at 30, 30 years old. And so now I'm 30 years old and I got people just yelling at me and treating me like shit, bro. I was like, yo.
Like you're a kid.
Like
almost.
I'm a kid.
Yeah.
You're getting spoken to like you don't even know nothing. And my ego was getting, they jabbing, you have no ego, you just, it's a humbling experience.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's benefit to that though.
Huge. I wouldn't be who I am without the fire service right now. But just the mental challenge of being able to take that was the toughest part for me, knowing like, yo, who are you talking to like that? You know what I'm saying? And then you got people just, trying you in your face. You got to be able to maintain composure and take that. And only my son got me through this entire process.
I was just about to ask you, what got you through?
Only my son, just looking that I need to provide for him, need to be there for him, and knowing that I left my last job because I can't do a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
You know this.
Yeah, I already know. I already know. I had to get out of there.
Yeah, man. I did my last career for 4.5 years, man, and I, got top sales numbers and stuff like that. Got company trips, and it was all good. But when I saw who I had to become to stay there and continue, I was like, there's no shot.
Yeah.
There's no shot.
Okay. And so you talked about family. Well, obviously, you have a son now. Did anyone in your family, they didn't serve or fire, military, nurse, nothing?
No,
right?
nothing. I was an inner city kid. I grew up in the inner city. So I'm from Jamaica. So when you come here, you starting from the bottom.
Yeah.
You starting from the bottom. I'm talking about whatever that bottom looks like. That's where you start. And
Got
so
you.
we were always against police, fire, military. Definitely against police. You growing up in the hood, nobody don't like police in the hood, right?
Yeah.
So you quickly absorb that because you pretty much are your environment, and so you in the hood, everybody gets in trouble by the police. You're profiled by the police a lot, and now it's crazy. Now seeing what they see all the time, I understand why we are profiled. Yeah. Right. Because you have a certain look, you have a certain this, you're matching descriptions, and for people or white people who watch too much TV, you fit what the media says you are automatically just by you being you. Yeah. And so I was always against that. My older brother got into trouble a lot with the law. Yeah. So which put a further distance in me trying to even think about that as an option. Yeah. Right. So.
Yeah, and I brought up family because I was gonna ask, like, and you mentioned like other people are kind of raised with that background of having other people serve. Would you want your son to like eventually be a firefighter, or would you ever?
No, I want my son to be 100 times me at all times. So no, if he wants to be, I support him all the way. But I definitely think that he could do something much at a larger scale. He could be a doctor. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Which will make a bigger impact. He can, I can start the nonprofit foundation for the sarcoidosis, and he can be an aid to that. Yeah. I think that I want him to make a bigger impact and push the dream forward. Gotcha. So not that I don't want him to be a firefighter, but I want him to make a difference and a change in a major impact. And I think from that level, he'll be able to really tap in to make certain changes, because even firefighters, a medical director, which is a doctor, writes our protocols. Right? They tell us how we're gonna treat you when we get to your residence. When we pull up at your house and we see you having trouble breathing, what we do is what that doctor told us to do in protocol, step by step, drug
no matter
by drug.
what. No matter what you see. It might change, right?
If it changes, there's a protocol for everything.
Yeah, okay.
There's a protocol for every change, everything because of course he's seen the extensive symptoms and stuff like that just by being in the ER.
Yeah.
Right. You're seeing hundreds of people, flow through there with different comorbidities, different diagnoses, different, problems. So those guys are best suited to create a protocol because they're seeing it all.
Yeah.
They know what happens outside the hospital, which is pre-hospital setting. They know what happens inside the hospital.
Gotcha.
So I want him to be able to do that, have that level of impact where we show up, we have to do these things which are in the best benefit of you.
Yeah. Making sure people stay alive.
They gotta stay alive, brother. Trust me. There's no worse feeling than knowing that you did your best, but you're still helpless, because in the end, once you do everything you can do and they still go,
Yeah.
You're as helpless as can be because you've done everything. And normally you get on scene as fire rescue or EMS, they expect you to pretty much be God. People got their phones out. You need to be on your
spot. Yeah.
Right, you're on the spot everywhere you go. People want to make sure to record you because as soon as you get out there, they love you, but at the same time, they want to be able to punish the shit out of you if you do something wrong.
Yeah.
So it's either you're only as good as your last call, we say.
Got you. So before I change topics, what has been like the highlight of being a firefighter and like the very low light of being a firefighter?
Okay. Highlight, when you go do your job and you pretty much make somebody's worst day, or somebody's in cardiac arrest, you save them, they get to leave the hospital within 3 to 5 days, and they come back, they write a whole letter for you. They come back and they actually meet you in person, thank you, they bring you food or bring you a good gift of some sort. That's like the highlight. You feel really good when you went out there, did what you were trained to do.
Yeah.
It works. And that person gets to go back with their family and live a regular life, go back to work like nothing happened.
Gotcha.
That's the highlight. Toughest part, or the lowest part for me, would be, and it was hard for me to change at first, was losing sleep. I gotta.
Okay, talk about that. So you work long hours.
Yeah.
Okay.
We work 24-hour shifts, and so my first time on shift, that was the longest day of my life. That was the longest day of my life. And mind you, just because it's 24 doesn't mean the intensity is going to be low, because yeah, man, you're going to be here all day. So you know what? No, you're going balls to the wall all day. And if you're a probationary firefighter, meaning you're new, we're on probation for 12 months. You're learning all day, you're training all day, you're changing clothes, you're running these calls all day.
Yeah.
But like a human, by 10 p.m., you're ready to kind of like, your mindset kind of,
ready to go to sleep.
Ready to go to sleep. You're tired at 10. Yeah, no. You're getting ready for your next shift, because now the nighttime comes.
Yeah.
Right? So you go do 8 to 8, boom. You'll shower up at around 9 or something like that. And then you still have till 8 in the morning where people do not care about your tiredness. Right?
Yeah.
And so that was very hard for me. Even if you might fall asleep or take a nap, to be able to get up and respond fully alert, that's an art form.
Yeah, and they train you for that.
Like, no shot. No. They don't train you. You get on-the-job training through experience.
On-the-job training of not having sleep.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's through experience, man. That's through experience.
Oh, that's tough.
Yeah.
Well, okay. All right, enough about that, because I don't know if I want to.
Listen, it's a different
All
life.
I know is I would never want to do that.
It's a different life, man.
You've showed me some pictures and I'm good off of that. You've seen some crazy stuff.
You got to be able to tolerate a lot.
But in the beginning, you said you do a little bit of personal training.
Okay.
Now, that's a lie. You don't do a little bit of personal training.
So I said I did online coaching,
Yeah.
and a little bit of personal training. What I meant by personal training is the in-person aspect of the training.
Okay.
I don't, that used to be my primary. Now it's definitely not.
Okay.
Now primarily I am an online fitness coach.
Was that because of like your role with fire?
No, actually that was because of COVID's role in my life.
Okay. Okay.
So I was renting out a gym in 2020. When COVID hit, they said, we couldn't be around people anymore and stuff like that. Everybody had to be, quarantined. And so for the first 2 weeks, maybe 4 weeks, I was enjoying my days off.
Yeah.
I was like, man, okay, so we get a little day off. Once this thing runs over, I'll be back at it.
Yeah.
Okay, no shot, as we all know.
COVID messed up everybody,
COVID messed up
everybody.
Everything. I'm still having to pay rent. I'm still having to pay my bills. Everything kept going, right? Everybody know everything kept going. Mm-hmm. But the money stopped.
Yeah.
The money, the ability to work and hustle, that stopped. And so I hit rock bottom pretty hard. You know, a lot of people hit rock bottom pretty hard. They did stimulus checks. They were never big enough to really make a dent into, you know, of course it helps. You need food or something like that. But to make real moves and to advance, that's not.
It was a Band-Aid.
Yeah,
it was a Band-Aid. I got that stimulus check in the next day.
It was done. It's done at the same time it comes in. You're waiting so long too sometimes, and you have stuff piling up, you know, extensive bills, whatever you may have.
And you had to pay taxes.
And you had to pay taxes on it. It's like, bro, what do you want us to do?
Yeah.
You know?
So I know COVID was an impact, but would you say training was your passion at the time?
Training has always been my passion.
Okay.
When I get rich, when I get wealthy, I won't ever stop training. I feel that's something when somebody says, you know, when you find something that you love to do, you'll never work a day in your life. I don't feel like I'm working when I'm training.
Heard.
I feel great. I feel like it's something I get to do. Also with my background in EMS and fire, I see a lot of people in the hospitals and a lot of people hurt who would just love another chance to be able to do what I do.
Yeah.
Walk, talk, jump, run, you know, the simple things we do. There's people on ventilators, can't even breathe on their own.
Yeah.
Right? So it gives me a deeper appreciation for life, and so I'm thankful just to be able to do that and provide right now.
Heard.
You know, I started off with my whole Instagram and all that and training free. I loved it before I got paid for it. And I was doing it for free for years before I ever got paid for it. And I'll continue to do it even after I'm not getting paid for it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And then, so with physical and online, was it a big shift? And was it easy to do with your schedule of working 24 hours? Like, or was it like kind of easy to do that because it was online?
It got more manageable when I switched to online. I didn't have to travel all over South Florida anymore training clients, right? And then it caused me to do a major restructure, a major rebrand, but it definitely offered up more balance because being a firefighter, I only talk about, or people only tell you what you work and the time you have off. They don't tell you how much sleep you're gonna need from working 24/7, right? You work the 24-hour shift, and when I get off shift, I normally go work out or do content, as you already know, right? And so then I'm having to still go train somebody in person.
Yeah.
And mostly I try to work out with my clients if I can. I actually like to, right? So sometimes you'll catch me working out 2-3 times a day, and then I go knock out for 15 hours. Now I'm back at work. 15 hours. Yeah. You need it, and so man, it's I don't know how to put it. I don't know how to put it in words. It's not my schedule. I want to give these people
a real depiction of
real depiction of that.
No, break down a normal week. I know how it is. Because not only does he work 24-hour shifts, he might work a 48-hour shift.
I do a lot of swaps and I'll take overtime.
And then even with that, like, he'll hit me up and be like, okay, let's go record, let's make some content. And I'm looking at my phone like, yo, this dude is crazy. But that's how I know you're dedicated to it. So when you said you train a little bit, I'm like, you might not train everybody all the time, but you're definitely training yourself, which is important. So can you talk to us about why you think like just training or working out is important to anyone?
Well, training by itself is linked to so many positive results. There's no successful person that's made it to the top that hasn't done any kind of workout or any kind of mental toughness, mental training, clarity. There's some kind of training, right? And when I say training, it's separate from working out. Okay. And I put that separately. Why? Because firefighters train. We do activities, exercises for a goal. We're working towards a goal. I work out. I just want to look like this, not performance or anything like that. You just have a look you want to go for, and so you're working out to have a certain look. Performance is not going to be in there. When you train, it's for performance. So police, they train. Firefighters, we train. Military, they train. We train to make sure that we can, for example, you're doing a deadlift, a regular deadlift here. We may do a deadlift single or two hands over here. Practicing all the applications you're gonna use. We're using full body functional workouts is pretty much on my page. Why? Because nothing I do as a firefighter is ever gonna be just unilateral, where it's just one facet, right? Just No, you're always gonna be picking something up. You got one thing in your hand here, it was real heavy. You have something lighter up here. You're having to really be functional everything you do. That when you grab something and hoist it up. So I train to be able to be functional. So I'm more so I would say an athlete, right? I can go out there, play flag football. I can go out there and swim. I can go out there, ride a bike. I can do everything I need to do.
Yeah, I can't do that no more. So I'm just working out.
You see, I'm
just working out. And you train.
I train.
Got you. So for someone like me who, I don't work a regular 9 to 5 anymore. I just work out for the aesthetic.
Yep.
What kind of goals, or what kind of goals would I set for myself to be able to say that I'm an athlete if there's nothing specific that I'm like really training for?
Well, you got to find your why. What do you want, right? And why do you want it?
Outside the aesthetic.
Outside the aesthetic, right? So you're saying someone going from working out, just being a workout person, to training for something.
Yeah.
What?
I mean, I don't even know. I mean, all I could think about, we talked about like the Spartan race, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's something, but that only happens so often. Whereas like you're training for your day-to-day job, which makes sense. So how do you get people to like lock in and commit to a training lifestyle versus like just working out for the look of it? Okay.
For one, you got bodybuilders, right? And then you have like Spartan level fitness, right? Bodybuilders, they work out to get as big as possible and as ripped as possible. And they go on stage and they flex. They're super strong, right? They're big. But if I was to bring that bodybuilder and say, hey, go in the military, or hey, come and be a fireman or be police, they would fail in camp. They would fail as soon as they go to camp, they're gonna be tired out. They're gonna be useless. Right? Now, when I put those two pictures up and I ask a client, what do you want to look like? What do you want to be? The majority of them pick the Spartan, right? They want to be functional. They want to be able to, because guess what? If you got a family, you got kids, you need to be able to pick up kids, pick up groceries, have a kid in hand with groceries. It's multifaceted.
Got you,
right?
Got you.
And so that's the main difference. Now you'll say, what would make you want to go now, stop being a workout person and be functional? What would make that is, hey, I want to be better. I want to do more, right? And it's those people who want to be at the top of their game. That's why not every client would be for me, because some clients just want to work out 3 times a week and do 30 minutes.
That's
not my ideal client.
That's not gonna do much.
No, that ain't gonna do much for you, and I'm not gonna put my name behind you, and I'm not gonna do you a disservice or lie to you.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so you said Spartan level fitness. What is that? What exactly is that? So
back in the Roman days, right? We all seen 300. Back in the Roman days, you had soldiers everywhere, right? You had soldiers, and they weren't any paid soldiers. They weren't doing any training. They would just say, "Hey, you're a soldier." And now, guess what? You're a soldier.
Ready? Are you about to go die?
Ready to go die. Pretty much. You just got to be ready to go die for whatever cause that your colonel or whatever said that you need to go die for, and you signed up, which is brave. Which is brave, right? But Spartans were the elite of all those soldiers back then. Spartan soldiers that actually trained. They're the only ones that trained. They were the elite group back then. Probably the equivalent to like the Navy SEALs, right, of today. So when I, adopted the name Spartan, I want to make sure that people know that you're getting elite training. This is someone that, i.e. me, I'm gonna be showing you that I'm living the lifestyle, and this is what I do, this is who I am. It's embedded deep inside my core. And Spartan best fit me, I believe, because of course, I'm gonna train every day. I wanna be elite. I am not afraid of learning new things and coming up higher consistently in my niche or in this game.
Got you.
And so Spartan is definitely a match. It's definitely a match. They're the elite of the elite. And that's who I wanna be. I don't wanna be average. I want to get as far north of average as possible. Average won't get you anywhere. You already know that.
I already know. Can't be average to succeed.
No.
Not at all. But we're wrapping up. Malcolm, can you tell the people where they could find you and what you offer on your social media and for everyone out there that's watching?
Well, what I offer is, for one, my page is Malcolm Solomon. And that's my name, first and last name. So my Instagram is @MalcolmSolomon, TikTok @MalcolmSolomon1. I offer online coaching, mental toughness. I offer nutrition. I offer consistency. I offer workouts nonstop. I offer your betterment. I'm here as a resource. A lot of people, clients, they come on and they don't, the best client, the best person for me to work with is someone that is sick and tired of being sick and tired. Someone that's been up and down, had the bad trainers, someone who's ready to become better at a moment's notice. A lot of people say they're ready, but when it's time to cut certain things out and sacrifice, you realize they're not really ready. So if you're coming to me and you're looking for training, you got to be mentally ready. Meaning, if you need to cut out liquor, well, guess what? You should be happy knowing that. Oh, that's all I need. That's all I got to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you need to cut down your carbs and your sugars, those things are pretty much blocks that people use, or I would say people let stop them from getting to that next level, right?
Yeah.
And every level demands a new person.
Yeah.
That you have to become to get on and stay on that level. So, like people always say, you don't put regular octane in a Ferrari, right?
Yeah.
So you want this nice body, fabulous body, but you want to eat garbage. you got to understand it's a trade-off, right? Yeah, the car is expensive, so guess what? You got to put expensive fuels, expensive oil. Same thing with the body. With my diet, for example, people want to look like me. Hey, how do I look like you? Are they willing to spend the amount of money I spend on eggs, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to buy the regular egg. I'm buying the best eggs that I can get.
Yeah.
Right? Those purple blue eggs, or those brown eggs?
Yeah.
Pastors.
I don't even know.
I'm drawing a blank on it, but they're not cheap.
Yeah.
And so I try to put the best fuels in my body. Now, as what do I have to give up? Yeah, I'm gonna pay a little more, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Because
ultimately that's gonna make you get to that next level.
It's gonna help me to get to that next level. Shoes, okay? I gotta get them. Why? And I'm talking about comfortable running shoes. I'm gonna run my miles all the time. It's a part of my lifestyle, And so that's what I really have to offer. I want people to know that when they join Spartan Level Fitness, it's a community. It's a family, I would say, because it's a lifestyle, bringing you in, and you're gonna be pretty much given the breadcrumbs to follow throughout the woods, and all you literally have to do is be ready to literally take step by step, and you'll get to your goal,
Heard, man, heard. Well, thank you, Malcolm, for coming on, man. This was the first official episode, Malcolm Solomon on the Ayin You Podcast. Like you said, you could follow him on Instagram at Malcolm Solomon. He got all the other platforms in his bio, so tap in if you're interested. Check out the Spartan Level Fitness program, and you'll be hearing back from him soon. Thank you. Boom.
There we go.